My name's Brian Pomering and I'm a member of the Regent Hall Corps, based in the heart of London in the UK. I have recently retired as a partner at PwC and I'm currently volunteering my skills as an advisor at international headquarters on a number of strategic projects. As part of the Regent Hall's 142nd anniversary recently, I was asked to share my vision for the Regent Hall. An anniversary, a time when we get inspired by the great things that have been achieved by the people from our church. It really got me thinking of other organisations that had great and inspiring successes in the past. Does anyone remember one of these? A VHS tape? Walking down the road on a Saturday night to select a movie to watch from our local Blockbuster store. Probably coming back with a pizza or a curry as well. In 2000, Mark Randolph and Reed Hastings, the founders of Netflix, approached Blockbuster and they offered themselves for sale for $50 million to the Blockbuster board. The Blockbuster board apparently laughed at them. We are the biggest distributors of movies on the planet. Why would we need you? Blockbuster went bust in 2010, just 10 years later. Kodak, their own engineer, Steve Sasson, invented the first digital camera in 1975. But management were reluctant to adopt the new technology as Kodak was the world's largest maker of film and provider of film processing. Kodak went into bankruptcy in January 2012, having been too scared to try something new that the market or consumers were wanting. You see, past successes and inspiring stories and achievements mean absolutely nothing when it comes to future success and impact. For those familiar with the English Premier League, I think this next picture probably speaks for itself. However, those who innovate are constantly looking at how culture is changing, what's needed by society or the world that they operate in, and they're able to thrive, to reinvent themselves. For example, look at Taylor Swift. 14 years ago, she was a country and western singer, and today, the hottest pop act on the planet. A complete reinvention. For me, Apple, I think, is a great example of constantly adapting to the way the world was changing. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak were early innovators of the personal computer. However, even they got fixated on just selling the Apple II computer and failed to innovate for a period of time. They almost went bankrupt in the early 1990s, and it was then that they brought Steve Jobs back. He got them consumer and experience focused. They released the iMac, and then we all know what they are today. So when it comes to thinking of my vision, of course, it was right to consult the word. And anyone my generation knows that Greece is the word. What stood out to me were the words of Sandy singing, "I'm out of my head, hopelessly devoted to you." Well, maybe not hopelessly devoted, but the starting point of our church has to be being totally devoted to God. A people totally devoted to God, excited about their faith, energized and motivated to make a difference, who come to church not because they have to, or because that's just what you do, but because they get disappointed and sad if they can't be there, because they fear they are missing out on a fresh encounter with God. A church that is welcoming, caring, supportive, but also investing in developing others. As a central city church for the Salvation Army, Regent Hall has this great opportunity to be a resource generator for the wider mission, leaders being developed and people inspired to make a difference. You see, a common theme in all those examples that I mentioned at the beginning is that what they did was still needed and still constant. People want to watch movies, they want to take photos, watch football, listen to music. What changed was how they wanted to engage with it. As Christians, we have a God who is also constant. His love never changes and is there for all unconditionally. But how people need or want to engage with it is constantly changing. The needs of our community are constantly changing, and we need to keep asking ourselves what those new ways are. Matthew 13 to 16 has always been a special passage for me. It speaks of us being salt and light for the world. When you're cooking a meal, you use the right amount of salt for the dish. You adapt how you use it for the impact that you want and the recipe you're using. You use light in a different way, for reading a book, to watching TV, to sewing. But applying them at the right amount for the recipe or the situation is just transformative. I firmly believe that God is not finished with the Salvation Army, and that even with all the inspiring stories of lives changed in the past, our best years are still ahead of us. The legacy of our forebearers is not how they did things, but the example they set in allowing God to tailor his wonderful message in a way that was totally relevant to their time. So my vision and prayer is we will create a new legacy of people fired up for God and sharing his love in a way that is both tailored to today's culture and agile for the changes in the world yet to come. Thanks.